Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that often urges us to be kind to everyone. Be kind, they say, it costs nothing. But I'm here to ask a hard question. Why must we be kind to everyone? The truth is, kindness without boundaries, without purpose, can often become a burden, not a blessing. Kindness should never come at the expense of your mental peace, your dignity, or your self-respect. The harsh reality is that we can't be everything to everyone, and that's okay. It's not a weakness to set limits. It's a powerful statement of self-care. In a world where kindness is often praised as a virtue, it's easy to overlook the vital need for boundaries in our relationships. We are encouraged from a young age to be kind to others, to offer a listening ear, lend a helping hand, or show compassion whenever we can. However, what's often left unsaid is that kindness without boundaries can lead to emotional exhaustion, burnout, and feelings of resentment. Many people make the mistake of thinking that kindness means saying yes to everyone, that we must always be available, always be giving, always be caring. But this approach can be deeply harmful, both to our mental health and to the quality of our relationships. The reality is that not all relationships are equally nourishing. Some are built on mutual respect, love, and support, while others are based on one-sided expectations, with one person giving more than they're receiving. When you allow yourself to be endlessly kind without recognizing the need for boundaries, you may inadvertently fall into relationships that deplete you. The draining relationships may not necessarily be toxic or malicious in nature, but they can still lead to an overwhelming sense of fatigue. There is a tendency to think that kindness requires an unconditional willingness to be there for others at all times, even at the cost of your own well-being. However, this is a misconception. Boundaries are the lines we draw to protect ourselves from emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion. They are the silent agreements we make with ourselves about how we expect to be treated, and they establish what we will and will not tolerate in our interactions with others. Without boundaries, kindness can quickly turn into an unhealthy pattern of overgiving, where one person constantly sacrifices their own needs for the sake of others. This can lead to feelings of resentment or bitterness, because deep down you may feel that your kindness is not being appreciated or reciprocated. Over time, this can lead to burnout, a state of emotional and physical depletion that leaves you feeling incapable of giving any more of yourself. When we talk about distinguishing between genuine relationships and those that drain us, we are addressing the importance of recognizing which connections are healthy and which ones may be siphoning off our emotional energy. Genuine relationships, whether they are friendships, family bonds, or romantic connections, are built on trust, mutual respect, and shared effort. In these relationships, kindness is a two-way street. Both parties give and take, supporting each other through challenges, celebrating victories, and offering comfort during difficult times. These relationships don't feel exhausting. Instead, they leave you feeling uplifted and nourished. On the other hand, relationships that drain you often have a different dynamic. They can sometimes feel like you're constantly pouring into someone who is not reciprocating or even acknowledging your efforts. These are the relationships where you might find yourself bending over backward to accommodate someone's needs, only to realize that your own needs are going unmet. Over time, these interactions can create a sense of depletion. You may feel emotionally taxed, as though you are giving and giving without ever receiving the same in return. And while you might initially chalk this up to your own sense of responsibility or obligation, you eventually realize that these relationships are costing you more than you are willing to give. Recognizing the need for boundaries means learning to say no when necessary. It's about understanding that you don't have to be available for everyone all the time. There is a powerful lesson in being able to say no without guilt. Saying no is not unkind. It's self-preserving. It's a way to ensure that you have enough energy, both emotionally and physically, to give to the relationships and activities that truly matter to you. By saying no to the things that drain you, You make space for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. This might mean setting limits on how much time you spend with people who have a tendency to overstep your boundaries, or learning to walk away from situations that cause you stress or anxiety. In some cases, it can be difficult to recognize when a relationship is draining you, especially if you've been kind and generous for a long time. You may feel a sense of duty or guilt about not continuing to give, but it's important to remember that taking care of yourself is not selfish. You have the right to prioritize your own mental and emotional health, even if it means stepping back from certain relationships. Being constantly available or always saying yes may feel like the right thing to do, but it is an unsustainable approach to kindness. The truth is, it's impossible to keep giving without replenishing yourself. The act of kindness itself becomes hollow when it's not balanced with self-care and boundaries. When you make the conscious decision to create boundaries, you are not rejecting people or being unkind. Rather, you are choosing to preserve your own well-being so that you can show up in a way that is more authentic and sustainable. Boundaries allow you to give from a place of abundance rather than depletion. They empower you to choose where to invest your time and energy in a way that serves both you and the other person. By doing so, you make your kindness more meaningful because it is no longer given out of obligation or expectation, but from a place of true generosity. The key to distinguishing between relationships that nourish you and those that drain you lies in awareness. By paying attention to how you feel after interacting with certain individuals, you can begin to assess whether those connections are worth your time and energy. If you feel energized, supported, and uplifted, then you know you are in a healthy relationship. But if you leave interactions feeling emotionally drained, anxious, or resentful, it may be time to reevaluate the nature of that relationship and establish clearer boundaries. Ultimately, kindness is a powerful force. It has the potential to build bridges, heal wounds, and foster deep connections. But kindness must be balanced with self-respect and a healthy understanding of your own needs. Without boundaries, kindness becomes a currency that is easily depleted. Learning to set those boundaries, to say no when necessary, and to prioritize your own well-being is an essential part of preserving the very kindness that you wish to share with others. When you protect yourself, you are better able to give, love, and be there for others in a way that truly matters. Self-care is often misunderstood in today's fast-paced world. Many people mistakenly believe that focusing on their own well-being is selfish or indulgent. We live in a culture that values giving, sacrificing for others, and showing up for everyone else. There is an overwhelming societal expectation that we must be available for others at all times, offering our time, energy, and kindness without considering the cost to ourselves. But the truth is that self-care is not selfish. In fact, it is a crucial aspect of maintaining both our physical and emotional health. It is only by taking care of ourselves that we can continue to give and support others in a way that is meaningful and sustainable. The idea that you cannot pour from an empty cup speaks to this fundamental truth. You cannot continuously give to others if you have nothing left to give. When we talk about self-care, we are not just referring to pampering ourselves or taking a bubble bath, though these activities can certainly be part of it. Self-care encompasses a much broader scope. It's about tending to our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. It is about nourishing ourselves, finding time for rest and reflection, and ensuring that we are in a healthy space to face life's challenges. In order to be the best version of ourselves for others, we need to first recognize that we must take the time to recharge, reflect, and care for our own needs. If we constantly neglect our own well-being for the sake of others, we risk burning out and becoming overwhelmed by the demands of life. We often hear that being kind to others is one of the highest virtues, but the practice of kindness is only sustainable when we are kind to ourselves first. Imagine trying to extend kindness when you are emotionally drained, physically exhausted, or mentally overwhelmed. The kindness we offer others will not come from a place of genuine care, but from a place of obligation. When we are running on empty, we may even find ourselves resenting the very people we are trying to help because we have not taken the time to care for our own needs. The act of kindness becomes a burden rather than a joy, and that in turn can lead to feelings of resentment, guilt, or frustration. Self-care is about setting boundaries and recognizing that you are not obligated to always be available to everyone else at the expense of your own well-being. The idea that we must always say yes to others or constantly be the one who helps, supports, or listens is not only unrealistic, but also unsustainable. When we sacrifice ourselves for others without taking the time to replenish our energy, we eventually start to feel overwhelmed. This can manifest in different ways, whether through physical exhaustion, emotional numbness, or a sense of disconnection from ourselves. By prioritizing self-care, we are not saying that we do not care about others. We are simply acknowledging that in order to be there for others in a meaningful way, we need to ensure that we are strong, balanced, and whole. There's also a misconception that self-care is a one-time activity or an occasional indulgence. Many people wait for the weekend or a break in their schedule to practice self-care, thinking that one day of relaxation will be enough to recharge their batteries. The truth is, self-care needs to be woven into the fabric of our daily lives. It's about creating habits that support our mental and physical health on an ongoing basis. This could mean carving out time in your day for mindfulness, engaging in regular physical exercise, setting aside time to rest and disconnect from the constant demands of work or social obligations, or even seeking professional support through therapy or counseling. It's important to recognize that self-care is not an act of luxury. It is a necessity for maintaining balance in life. Taking care of yourself is not about being perfect or always having everything in order. It's about listening to your body and mind, recognizing when you need a break, and taking the time to rest when necessary. It's about acknowledging your feelings, whether they are of stress, anxiety, frustration, or joy, and giving yourself permission to feel them without judgment. Self-care involves self-compassion, which means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend in need. If we can learn to be kind to ourselves, we can create the mental and emotional space necessary to be there for others when they need us most. One of the most important aspects of self-care is recognizing that it is not a luxury but a responsibility. When we neglect our own needs, we can easily become resentful or overwhelmed. We may begin to feel as though we are always giving, yet never receiving the same care or attention in return. Over time, this can lead to burnout, depression, or even a breakdown in relationships. It's important to remember that it is not selfish to take care of yourself. In fact, it is an essential part of maintaining a healthy, balanced life. We cannot give our best to others if we are not taking the time to fill our own cups first. Just as a car needs regular maintenance to run smoothly, so too do we need to nurture ourselves in order to function at our best. The simple truth is that self-care is a foundational aspect of emotional well-being. When we prioritize our own needs and take the time to rest, recharge, and reflect, we are better equipped to handle life's challenges. We are more present in our relationships, more capable of offering support, and more able to practice kindness without it feeling like a burden. The act of taking care of yourself is an investment in your future well-being, enabling you to continue giving from a place of abundance rather than depletion. By recognizing that self-care is not selfish, we can embrace it as a necessary and empowering practice, one that allows us to be the best version of ourselves, not just for ourselves, but for the people we love and care about. Saying no is one of the most powerful tools we can use to protect our time, energy, and mental well-being. Yet for many people, it can feel uncomfortable or even guilty. We often fear that saying no will come across as rude, unkind, or unhelpful, and so we continue to say yes to things that don't serve us. In reality, saying no is not an act of rejection, it's an act of self-respect. respect. By setting clear limits and learning when to say no, we are taking control of our lives and ensuring that we preserve our mental, emotional, and physical health. The ability to say no is not just about turning down a request or obligation. It's about honoring ourselves, acknowledging our needs, and creating the space we need to thrive. When we are constantly saying yes to others at the expense of our own well-being, we can quickly become overwhelmed and overextended. The pressure to meet the expectations of others can build up, leaving us feeling exhausted, stressed, and resentful. We may feel as though we are endlessly giving of our time and energy, but never receiving the same in return. This imbalance can lead to burnout, where we become physically and emotionally drained, unable to perform at our best or be present for the people and activities that matter most to us. By saying no, we are drawing a boundary that allows us to protect our resources, our time, energy, and mental peace. It is important to understand that saying no is not a negative or unkind action. It is a necessary part of maintaining healthy relationships and a balanced life. When we say yes to everything, we can spread ourselves too thin and fail to give our full attention and effort to the things that are truly important. By saying no, we are creating the space to focus on our own priorities, to recharge, and to ensure that we are giving our best to the people and tasks that truly deserve our attention. This is not only beneficial for us, but for others as well. When we say no, we are allowing ourselves to show up fully and authentically, rather than being drained or disengaged because we have taken on too much. One of the biggest challenges in learning to say no is the fear of disappointing others. We worry that by turning down a request, we will let someone down or damage a relationship. But the truth is that saying no does not mean that we are rejecting the person. It simply means that we are prioritizing our own needs. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. When we set boundaries and say no when necessary, we are communicating that we value ourselves and our time. People who truly care about us will respect our boundaries, even if it means they don't get everything they want from us. In fact, saying no can strengthen relationships, as it allows for more honest and authentic interactions. People will appreciate that we are willing to set limits, and they will come to understand that we are more capable of being there for them when we are not stretched too thin. Saying no is also an essential skill in protecting our mental peace. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with demands, requests, and expectations, it can be easy to lose sight of our own needs. We may feel pressure to say yes to everything, whether it's attending social events, taking on extra work, or helping someone in need, because we don't want to appear selfish or uncaring. But the truth is, when we say yes to everything, we are neglecting ourselves. We are pushing our own needs aside in favor of others, and this can take a significant toll on our mental health. Constantly overcommitting ourselves can lead to anxiety, stress, and a feeling of being out of control. By saying no, we are reclaiming our power and ensuring that we are not overwhelmed by the demands of the world around us. Setting clear limits is also crucial for maintaining a sense of balance and peace in our lives. We can only give so much of ourselves before we begin to deplete our own resources. When we fail to set boundaries and say no, we risk losing ourselves in the process. We may find ourselves saying yes to things that don't align with our values or priorities, simply because we don't want to disappoint others or feel guilty. However, by saying no, we are asserting control over our time and energy. We are saying that we have the right to choose how we spend our time and what we invest in. Saying no allows us to focus on what truly matters and to engage in activities that bring us joy, fulfillment, and growth. Learning to say no also requires a shift in mindset. We must recognize that our time is valuable and that we have the right to protect it. Saying no is not about being selfish. It's about being mindful of how we allocate our time and energy. It's about recognizing that we cannot be everything to everyone, and that we must be selective in what we take on. It's important to remember that when we say no, we are not rejecting the person or the request. We are simply choosing to protect ourselves and prioritize our own well-being. This shift in thinking can be empowering, as it allows us to take ownership of our lives and make decisions based on what is best for us, rather than what others expect from us. There are many situations in life where saying no is not only necessary but essential for our well-being. Whether it's turning down a social invitation when we need rest, declining an additional work task when we are already overwhelmed, or setting limits with people who take more than they give, saying no is a powerful act of self-care. It is an act of honoring ourselves and our needs. It is about protecting our time, energy, and mental peace so that we can show up as our best selves in the world. Saying no is not an unkind act. It is a courageous and necessary one. By saying no, we are creating the space we need to live our lives with intention and authenticity, and to give our best to the people and things that truly matter. Kindness is often regarded as one of the most admirable qualities a person can possess. It's a trait that can bridge divides, heal wounds, and create meaningful connections between people. Being kind to others is something that many of us strive for, as we believe that it's important to treat people with compassion, empathy, and respect. However, what is often left unsaid is that kindness does not mean tolerating toxic behavior, especially when it comes from those who continuously disrespect, belittle, or take advantage of your generosity. There is a fine line between offering kindness and enabling harmful behavior, and crossing that line can have serious consequences for your own well-being and emotional health. When we talk about toxic behavior, we are referring to actions and attitudes that consistently undermine your sense of self-worth, cause emotional distress, or disrupt your peace of mind. Toxic individuals may belittle you, manipulate you, take advantage of your kindness, or treat you with disregard, yet still expect you to continue offering them your time, energy, and support. In these situations, kindness can become a form of enabling, where your willingness to give and be understanding is used against you. You may begin to feel drained, unappreciated, and even resentful because, despite your best efforts, the toxic person continues to behave in ways that harm you. It's important to recognize that being kind is not the same as accepting mistreatment. Kindness should never come at the expense of your own well-being or self-respect. When someone continuously disrespects you or takes advantage of your generosity, it's crucial to draw the line and stop tolerating this behavior. It's not about being unkind. It's about setting boundaries and choosing to protect yourself from harm. Tolerating toxic behavior only enables the individual to continue their actions, and over time, this can erode your sense of self-worth and cause emotional exhaustion. One of the reasons people often tolerate toxic behavior is because they believe that kindness will change the other person. They think that by being patient, understanding, or giving, the other person will eventually come around and treat them better. However, this is a dangerous mindset because it assumes that the other person will change based on your actions or sacrifices. The reality is that people only change when they are willing to do so. No amount of kindness can make someone respect you if they are not willing to do so on their own. Instead of changing their behavior, toxic individuals may simply learn to take advantage of your kindness, expecting you to continue tolerating their mistreatment because they know you will always forgive them. In many cases, toxic behavior stems from an underlying lack of respect or a sense of entitlement. A toxic individual may feel entitled to your time, your resources, or your energy without ever considering what you need or how their actions affect you. They may take advantage of your kindness, knowing that you will always be there to help or support them, regardless of how they treat you. This dynamic creates an unhealthy power imbalance where you are constantly giving and they are constantly taking without offering anything in return. Over time, this kind of relationship can become emotionally draining, as it feeds into a cycle of one-sided expectations. It is essential to understand that being kind does not mean tolerating mistreatment, and kindness should never be used as an excuse to accept harmful behavior. Setting boundaries is an important part of maintaining healthy relationships. Boundaries allow you to protect your emotional, mental, and physical well-being, and they send send a clear message to others that you will not tolerate disrespect or manipulation. When someone disrespects you, belittles you, or takes advantage of your generosity, it's important to stand firm in your boundaries and let them know that their behavior is not acceptable. This might mean saying no to their requests, distancing yourself from them, or even walking away from the relationship entirely if necessary. The idea that kindness means tolerating toxic behavior often comes from a place of fear. Fear of conflict, fear of being labeled as unkind, or fear of losing the relationship. However, it's important to realize that tolerating toxicity is far more damaging than setting boundaries. If you allow someone to treat you poorly out of a desire to avoid conflict or keep the peace, you are ultimately sacrificing your own happiness and self-respect. True kindness comes from a place of self-respect and self-care. By setting boundaries and refusing to tolerate mistreatment, you are not only protecting yourself, but also showing others that you value your worth and expect to be treated with the same respect that you offer them. Toxic relationships, whether they are romantic, familial, or friendships, can have a profound impact on your mental and emotional health. The constant stress, anxiety, and emotional turmoil caused by tolerating toxic behavior can take a serious toll over time. It can lead to feelings of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem as you begin to internalize the negative treatment and question your worth. By choosing to stop being kind to those who disrespect you, you are taking a stand for your own well-being. You are making the decision to prioritize your mental health and emotional peace, and to protect yourself from the harm that comes from constantly being on the receiving end of toxic behavior. Ultimately, kindness should be a source of connection and mutual respect, not a tool for enabling harm. While it's important to be compassionate and understanding, it's equally important to recognize when your kindness is being taken for granted or used against you. Setting boundaries, speaking up for yourself, and refusing to tolerate disrespect are all acts of self-respect, not unkindness. By doing so, you are not only protecting yourself, but also setting an example for others about how to treat you. When you stop tolerating toxic behavior, you open the door to healthier, more fulfilling relationships where kindness is mutual, respectful, and sustainable. Understanding and acknowledging your worth is one of the most empowering and liberating realizations you can have in life. Many of us have been conditioned to seek validation and approval from others, whether it's from family, friends, colleagues, or society at large. We often tie our sense of self-worth to the opinions and judgments of others, believing that our value is contingent on their acceptance or approval. However, the truth is that your worth is intrinsic and independent of others. You are not obligated to please everyone or seek external validation to feel good about who you are. Learning to be kind to yourself by recognizing that your worth is not defined by others is a crucial step towards self-love and emotional well-being. For much of our lives, we are taught to look outside ourselves for reassurance. From an early age, many of us are encouraged to seek approval from our parents, teachers, or peers. We're told that in order to be accepted or loved, we must meet certain standards or expectations, whether that means achieving success in school, excelling in our careers, or fitting into a specific mold of beauty or social behavior. This constant seeking of external validation can create a sense of insecurity and self-doubt as we become overly reliant on the opinions of others to determine our worth. The more we seek validation, the more we may lose sight of our own values and what makes us unique. Our sense of self becomes entangled in the expectations of others, rather than grounded in our own understanding of who we are and what we stand for. The desire to please others is natural, it's human to want to be liked, appreciated, and accepted. However, when we make pleasing others our primary goal, we begin to lose sight of ourselves. We start to prioritize the needs and desires of others over our own, often at the expense of our happiness and well-being. This can lead to a cycle of self-neglect where we continue to give to others hoping that their approval will fill the void inside of us. But no amount of external validation can ever truly satisfy our inner need for self-acceptance. External validation is fleeting and can be inconsistent, leaving us in a constant state of searching for more. True fulfillment comes from within, from the knowledge that you are worthy simply because you exist, not because of what others think of you. Knowing your worth means understanding that you do not need to mold yourself into someone else's idea of who you should be. It means accepting that you are enough. Just as you are, with all your strengths, flaws, and quirks, your value is not contingent on your achievements, your appearance, or your social standing. It's not dependent on how many likes you get on social media or how often others compliment you. Your worth is inherent. It comes from the fact that you are a human being with unique experiences, perspectives, and qualities that make you valuable. When you recognize your intrinsic worth, you free yourself from the constant pressure to please others or seek their approval. One of the biggest challenges in learning to acknowledge your worth is overcoming the fear of rejection or judgment. It can be difficult to stop seeking validation from others, especially when we have spent so much of our lives doing so. We may fear that if we stop trying to please people, we will be rejected, abandoned, or unloved. However, the truth is that when we constantly seek to please others, we may end up losing touch with who we really are. We may attract relationships that are based on false pretenses, where we feel as though we must maintain a certain image or behavior to be accepted. These relationships are not authentic, and they do not allow us to show up as our true selves. By learning to prioritize your own worth, and stop seeking external validation, you will attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for the version of yourself that you feel you need to present to gain approval. In addition to attracting more authentic relationships, recognizing your own worth also allows you to set healthy boundaries. When you understand that your value is not dependent on others' approval, you are better able to stand up for yourself and say no when something does not align with your values or needs. You stop allowing others to take advantage of you or disrespect you because you recognize that you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Setting boundaries becomes a natural extension of knowing your worth. It's a way of protecting your time, energy, and emotional well-being from people or situations that do not contribute positively to your life. When you honor your own worth, you create the space for others to do the same. Learning to be kind to yourself is an essential part of knowing your worth. We are often our harshest critics, constantly pointing out our flaws, mistakes, and shortcomings. We may have a tendency to focus on our weaknesses rather than celebrating our strengths. Being kind to yourself means acknowledging that you are not perfect, and that's okay. Perfection is not a requirement for worthiness. Embracing your imperfections and accepting yourself as you are is an important step in developing self-compassion and self-respect. By being kind to yourself, you build a foundation of self-love that does not rely on the approval of others. Furthermore, recognizing your worth allows you to let go of the need for constant comparison. In a world where social media often presents an idealized version of others' lives, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. However, this type of comparison is toxic and misleading. Everyone's journey is different, and comparing your progress or achievements to someone else's will only leave you feeling inadequate. Knowing your worth means understanding that your path is unique to you, and your value is not determined by how you measure up to others. By letting go of comparison, you can focus on your own growth and celebrate your individual journey. It's also important to remember that knowing your worth doesn't mean being arrogant or dismissive of others. It simply means recognizing that you have value, regardless of how others may perceive you. It means accepting that you are deserving of love, respect, and success, not because of what you do for others, but because you are inherently valuable. When you know your worth, you no longer need to seek validation from others to feel secure in yourself. Instead, you learn to trust your own judgment, honor your own needs, and cultivate a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on the opinions of others. In conclusion, knowing your worth is one of the most transformative realizations you can have. It is a powerful act of self-respect and self-love that allows you to live authentically, set boundaries, and attract relationships that are rooted in mutual respect. When you stop seeking validation from others and start acknowledging your inherent value, you free yourself from the cycle of self-doubt and insecurity. You learn to be kind to yourself by recognizing that you are worthy, just as you are, without the need for approval or acceptance from anyone else. Kindness is often seen as one of the most noble and admirable qualities a person can possess. It is universally celebrated as an act that has the power to heal, to uplift, and to build connections. However, there is a common misconception that kindness should be freely given to everyone, regardless of their actions, intentions, or behavior. The reality, however, is that true kindness is not a free pass to everyone you encounter. It is something that should be earned and cultivated over time, built on a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Offering kindness to others is an act of generosity, but it should never come at the expense of your emotional well-being or self-respect. It is not an obligation or something that should be given indiscriminately, especially when it is not reciprocated or appreciated. When we speak of true kindness, we are referring to a form of compassion and generosity that is rooted in empathy and mutual respect. It is not about giving endlessly without regard for how it is received, nor is it about tolerating mistreatment or neglect in the name of being kind. True kindness is about showing care and understanding to others, but it must be rooted in a healthy dynamic where both parties contribute to the relationship in meaningful ways. When kindness is freely given to those who do not value it or reciprocate it, it becomes a one-sided transaction that ultimately leads to emotional depletion and resentment. It's important to recognize that kindness is not a free pass for anyone who crosses your path. It is something that should be shared only with those who respect it, value it, and demonstrate that they deserve it. The concept of earning kindness is not about holding a grudge or withholding compassion, but rather about understanding that kindness should be part of a healthy exchange, not a one-way street. Relationships, whether they are personal, professional, or casual, thrive on mutual respect and understanding. True kindness is a reflection of the energy and effort that both parties invest in the relationship. When you offer kindness to someone, you are extending yourself emotionally, and it's only fair that your efforts are met with appreciation and reciprocity. If someone does not value your kindness or treats it with indifference, then continuing to offer kindness to that person can ultimately deplete your emotional resources and lead to frustration or disappointment. Kindness, when offered freely and without discernment, can also create an imbalance in relationships. It can enable toxic behavior where one person takes advantage of the other's generosity or kindness without ever offering anything in return. For example, in a relationship where one person constantly gives and gives, but the other person takes without contributing or showing gratitude, the dynamic becomes unhealthy. The person giving may feel drained and unappreciated, while the one receiving may come to expect kindness without having to earn it or reciprocate it. This imbalance can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. In these situations, kindness is no longer a virtue. It becomes a tool for enabling unhealthy behavior, which ultimately harms both individuals involved. When kindness is not reciprocated or valued, it's important to recognize that you do not owe it to anyone to continue offering it. You have the right to withdraw your kindness and protect your emotional energy. Offering kindness to someone who consistently disrespects you, belittles you, or takes advantage of you is not an act of virtue. It is an act of self-neglect. True kindness requires respect for both yourself and the other person. It involves setting healthy boundaries, knowing when to offer compassion, and recognizing when it's time to step back and preserve your emotional well-being. It's also crucial to understand that kindness should never be confused with weakness or passivity. Some people may mistake kindness for being a doormat or someone who can be easily taken advantage of. However, kindness is a sign of strength, and it should always be coupled world with self-respect and a clear sense of boundaries. Being kind does not mean that you allow others to mistreat you or take advantage of you. It means that you are choosing to be compassionate and understanding while also ensuring that you are treated with the same respect in return. True kindness is assertive and grounded in self-respect. It knows when to offer grace and when to say no. Reciprocity is an essential component of any meaningful relationship. Whether it's a friendship, a romantic partnership, or a professional relationship, both individuals should contribute to the dynamic in a way that supports mutual growth and understanding. Kindness, when earned and reciprocated, strengthens bonds and fosters trust. When both people are invested in the relationship, kindness becomes a powerful tool for connection and emotional support. However, when kindness is only given by one party and not returned by the other, the relationship becomes imbalanced and one-sided, leading to frustration and emotional depletion. It's essential to recognize when someone is not contributing to the relationship in a way that aligns with your values or expectations, and to adjust your level of kindness accordingly. There is also an element of discernment involved in offering kindness. You do not have to be kind to everyone, nor should you feel obligated to extend kindness to those who do not deserve it. This does not mean being unkind or dismissive. Rather, it means recognizing that kindness is a precious resource that should be given thoughtfully and with consideration. It means choosing to invest your emotional energy in relationships that are based on mutual respect and trust, where your kindness is appreciated and reciprocated. It's okay to say no to someone who is not treating you with respect, or to step away from a situation where your kindness is being taken for granted. In doing so, you are honoring yourself and your worth. True kindness requires vulnerability, empathy, and a willingness to extend ourselves to others. However, it also requires wisdom and discernment. It is not about offering kindness indiscriminately, but about knowing when to give, when to withhold, and when to protect yourself from being drained by those who do not reciprocate your generosity. Offering kindness to those who disrespect you, belittle you, or take advantage of your generosity is not a true act of kindness. It is an act of self-neglect and emotional harm. Kindness is most powerful when it is earned, cultivated through mutual respect, and given with the understanding that both parties are invested in the relationship. By practicing discernment and setting healthy boundaries, we can ensure that our kindness remains a source of strength, not weakness, and that it is always valued and reciprocated. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to please everyone, giving our time, attention, and kindness to anyone who asks for it. We often feel obligated to be everything to everyone, believing that the more we give, the better we'll be perceived, or the more we'll be appreciated. However, the truth is that not everyone deserves your energy. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you certainly cannot sustain your well-being by constantly offering your kindness and attention to those who do not genuinely value it. It's crucial to learn how to reserve your energy for those who uplift you, inspire you, and reciprocate the kindness you offer. We all have a finite amount of time and emotional energy. Every interaction we have requires some level of investment, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical. The more we give to people who do not appreciate or reciprocate our kindness, the more drained we become. We end up overextended, exhausted, and sometimes resentful. When we continuously pour our energy into relationships or situations that do not nourish or support us, we risk losing sight of our own needs, desires, and well-being. It's essential to recognize that not everyone is deserving of your time and energy, and you have the right to protect your emotional and mental resources from being depleted by those who do not contribute positively to your life. The idea of being everything to everyone often stems from a desire to be liked or accepted. It's a natural human instinct to want to belong and to feel valued, but when this desire becomes the driving force behind our actions, it can lead us down an unsustainable path. People who do not genuinely care for us or appreciate us may take advantage of our kindness, expecting more without ever offering anything in return. This creates an imbalance where you give and give, but there's no real exchange. The more you try to please others, the more you lose touch with yourself, your values, and your own needs. By continually offering your energy to those who don't value it, you are not only exhausting yourself, but also enabling relationships that are one-sided and ultimately unfulfilling. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, it's important to prioritize the relationships that genuinely uplift and inspire you. The people who truly deserve your energy are those who reciprocate your kindness, who respect you, and who contribute positively to your life. These individuals make you feel seen, heard, and valued. They support you through both good times and challenges, and their presence in your life enhances your sense of well-being. These are the people who understand the importance of mutual respect and care, and they nourish you just as much as you nourish them. These relationships are built on a foundation of trust, understanding, and genuine appreciation, and they are the ones that are worth your emotional investment. Protecting your energy doesn't mean being unkind or shutting yourself off from the world. It simply means being intentional about where you direct your emotional and mental resources. You don't have to say yes to every request or offer your kindness to everyone who asks for it. Instead, be discerning about who you invest in. Ask yourself whether the person or situation is contributing positively to your life or draining you. Are you receiving as much as you're giving, or are you always the one making the effort? Do you feel seen and respected, or do you feel taken for granted? These are important questions to ask when determining where to direct your energy. It's also essential to understand that protecting your energy is an act of self-care. Self-care is not just about taking time for yourself. It's about creating boundaries that preserve your emotional and mental well-being. When you constantly give your energy to people who do not value it, you are sacrificing your own happiness and peace of mind. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that kindness means giving all of yourself to others. But true kindness also involves taking care of yourself and recognizing that your time and energy are precious. By choosing to reserve your kindness for those who truly deserve it, you are making a conscious decision to prioritize your own well-being and protect yourself from burnout. When you start reserving your energy for those who uplift and inspire you, you will begin to notice a positive shift in your life. The people you choose to invest in will make you feel more fulfilled, energized, and supported. You will no longer feel drained or resentful because your energy will be directed toward those who genuinely appreciate you. You'll also have more space to focus on your own goals, passions, and personal growth without the constant distraction of trying to please others or meet their needs. Your sense of self-worth will strengthen, and you will become more confident in setting boundaries and saying no to people or situations that do not serve your highest good. In the end, the key to protecting your energy is learning to say no without guilt. You do not have to say yes to every request or offer your time and attention to everyone who asks for it. You have the right to choose where you invest your energy, and that choice should be guided by the relationships that genuinely add value to your life. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone and focus on the people who truly matter, you will find that your life becomes more fulfilling, balanced, and harmonious. You'll also be able to offer your kindness and energy in a way that is sustainable, meaningful, and reciprocated. Ultimately, protecting your energy is not only a way to safeguard your well-being, but also a way to cultivate the kind of relationships that bring joy, growth, and mutual respect. Self-respect is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and emotional well-being. It is the foundation upon which all other aspects of self-care are built, and it serves as a guiding force when it comes to making decisions that align with your true values and desires. Being kind to yourself is an essential part of embracing self-respect. However, kindness should never be mistaken for complacency. While it's important to treat yourself with compassion and understanding, you must also recognize when kindness has become a crutch, something that stops you from taking bold steps toward your own growth and happiness. True self-respect means understanding the balance between being kind to yourself and pushing yourself forward, even when it feels uncomfortable or challenging. Kindness to yourself often looks like being patient and forgiving, offering yourself grace during times of struggle, and providing yourself with the care and nurturing that you would extend to a loved one. It's the act of speaking kindly to yourself when you make mistakes instead of berating yourself with criticism and self-doubt. It's allowing yourself to rest and recharge when you're feeling overwhelmed, rather than pushing through out of guilt or obligation. In these ways, kindness is a powerful tool for maintaining emotional and mental balance. However, there's a risk that kindness can become a crutch, something you lean on too heavily, preventing you from taking action that is necessary for your growth and evolution. It's easy to fall into the trap of being too kind to yourself, especially when you're facing challenges or pursuing difficult goals. You might tell yourself that it's okay to take a break, that you deserve rest, or that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. While these affirmations are important, they can become excuses if they prevent you from pushing yourself forward. At some point, kindness must evolve into the courage to take bold steps, even when it's uncomfortable. Self-respect demands that you recognize when it's time to stop playing it safe and start stepping out of your comfort zone. Being kind to yourself is not about avoiding discomfort or challenges. It's about giving yourself the tools, mindset, and encouragement to face them head on. It's about knowing when to acknowledge that you need rest and when to push through the resistance to take action, even if it feels difficult. When you rely solely on kindness as a crutch, you might delay the necessary actions that will lead you to the next step in your personal growth. Sometimes moving forward requires discomfort, whether it's having a difficult conversation, confronting your fears, or taking a leap of faith toward a new opportunity. If you allow kindness to be your excuse for avoiding discomfort, you may find yourself stuck in a cycle of complacency, unable to break free from old habits or limiting beliefs. True self-respect means recognizing that you are worthy of growth, progress, and happiness, even if it requires you to face your fears or step out of your comfort zone. It means taking responsibility for your own journey and being willing to challenge yourself when necessary. Being kind to yourself doesn't mean avoiding difficult situations or sidestepping tough decisions. It means equipping yourself with the strength, resilience, and belief in your ability to navigate those challenges. It's about having the courage to move forward, even when the path is uncertain, and knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. The power of self-respect lies in your ability to prioritize your long-term growth and well-being rather than seeking temporary comfort or ease. Kindness can sometimes feel like the easier choice in the moment, especially when faced with discomfort or uncertainty. You might convince yourself that you deserve to avoid challenges or take the easy way out, but deep down, you know that real growth comes from the willingness to face adversity head-on. Real self-respect means having the discipline to do what's best for your future, even when it feels difficult in the present. Part of embracing the power of self-respect is recognizing when it's time to pull back. In certain situations, kindness is about knowing when to say no, when to set boundaries, and when to walk away from toxic or draining relationships. Self-respect involves protecting your time, energy, and mental well-being from people or circumstances that undermine your happiness. It's about acknowledging that not every situation deserves your attention or emotional investment. Pulling back can be an act of self-respect, as it allows you to conserve your energy for pursuits and relationships that align with your values and aspirations. Sometimes stepping away from certain situations is the most kind and respectful thing you can do for yourself. However, there are also times when pulling back too much can become a form of avoidance, a way to protect yourself from discomfort or failure. In these cases, self-respect means recognizing when it's time to stop holding back and take action, even if it scares you. Moving forward requires a certain level of risk and vulnerability. It requires a willingness to put yourself out there, despite the possibility of rejection or failure. Kindness to yourself involves giving yourself permission to take those risks, knowing that you are worthy of success, growth, and happiness. It's about having the confidence to step outside your comfort zone and take bold action even when it feels difficult. There will always be moments in life when you feel uncertain or unsure of your next steps. You may face challenges that make you question your abilities or your worth. During these times, kindness to yourself is important. It's crucial to offer yourself compassion and remind yourself that setbacks are a normal part of the journey. However, kindness should not become an excuse to stay stuck in fear or inaction. True self-respect means acknowledging the need for both rest and action. It means recognizing when it's time to rest and recharge, and when it's time to move forward and take the next step, even if it feels uncomfortable or challenging. When you embrace the power of self-respect, you learn to trust yourself and your ability to navigate the ups and downs of life. You no longer rely solely on external validation or approval to define your worth. Instead, you trust your own judgment, make decisions based on your values and goals, and take action toward the life you want to create. You understand that kindness is important, but it must be balanced with the courage to move forward, to take risks, and to challenge yourself. Self-respect is not about avoiding discomfort or bypassing the hard work required for growth. It's about knowing that you are worthy of all the good things that come from pushing through challenges and taking bold steps toward your happiness.